Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are around the world, and welcome back to Sideboard Files. My name is Manuel, I'm your host here on the show as usual, and I'm joined once again by the one and only Aleks Dakic.
Nothing to see there.
Nothing to see there.
No gains.
How you doing, man? Are you okay?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. How about you?
Very, very excited to talk about Mono-Red Prowess again in Modern. That's how I feel like.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So, we are here to talk about the mirror match. And first of all, strategy-wise, how do you set up your game for winning the mirror match?
So the key in this matchup, I love this matchup, by the way. It's so fun. The key in this matchup is to keep the board clear, at least on your opponent's side, because the creatures are the key to win. And while doing that, try to build up your own board, yourself, to at some point overwhelm your opponent with. That's pretty much the game plan. The matchup, people might think it's very fast because both are very fast decks, playing very fast decks, but it can get really, really grindy, especially when both of them have specific sideboard card. Dragon's Claw can get very long.
Both
and
game
grindy.
live,
and Reveler is just the best card in this matchup. So when the first one who plays a Reveler has a big advantage because it's a big creature. You have to sacrifice some resources to kill it, and also just gives you so much card advantage. That's just the best card in this matchup.
So we can say that you want to be prepared for a longer game, and let's say a good amount of times this is gonna happen.
Yes.
You want to be probably the first one to play Dragon's Claw.
Yeah.
And maybe the only one to have it on the battlefield. And you want to be the first one to play Bedlam Reveler.
Oh yeah, for sure okay. That Dragon's Claw is arguable. You don't have to be the first one who casts it, but it's still, of course, advantage for you if you are the first who cast a Dragon's Claw and your opponent doesn't have an abrade or shenanigans or whatever they have to fight the Dragon's Claw.
Now, since we have like this sort of plan in mind, when you start the game, you get your opening hand. What do you want to see in that opening hand?
At least, and that's I think for all the matchups, at least one mana creature, and at least one or I would say even go as far as say two spells to interact with your opponent's creatures, because you don't want to have a hand at least game one with one creature and like 3 lava spikes or something, because in this matchup you need to interact in order to win. And so, yeah, definitely one mana creature at least, and a few interactive spells.
Interactive spells.
Exactly, yes.
Would you like to have actually Bedlam Reveler in your starting hand, or that's too much, too soon?
Of course, it's better to draw it exactly when you need it. But I found myself being pretty happy with a hand with hands like that contain one Reveler at least, because I know that's my goal. That's the direction I want to go towards. And then I know, I can cast my Crash Throughs freely to just feed the Reveler because I know he's coming, So that's okay. That's totally fine. But yeah, having some sort of interaction, at least one creature to start a game with, or maybe even a Dragon's Claw is very good, very good. But I even found myself in some spots against the deck where I had many ways to interact with and Reveler, but no one-mana creature. I think that's possible as well in this matchup, because that's what it's about, as I said. And when you keep your opponent's board clear, and then you drop a Reveler, and it just like lights out almost, because you don't have a creature as well, because you can count on your opponent to have interaction as well. So if you don't have like a one-mana creature, it's not that terrible. Because you yourself have a lot of interaction. Your opponents play the creatures, you destroy them, and that feeds a Reveler. And yeah, that's also a strategy you can go for in this kind of matchup.
Okay. Since we were talking about having the creature and having interactive spells, your opponent might be thinking the same. So when you start actually the game, do you play your creature on turn 1? Or you wait to have more mana and be able to actually play some spells in response so you can actually save your creature if they try to kill it?
That's a good point. I would say on the play, when you have your 1-mana creature, you play it always. But on the draw, I think you be a bit more hesitant to play a 1-mana creature.
So
you wait
you're
for
taking
your
more,
opponent.
you're more cautious, let's say.
You get more cautious when you're on the draw and don't immediately drop your 1-mana creature. Wait for them to play their 1-mana creature, and then you can try to kill it. Maybe you have them more mana available to defend your first creature, for example. So on the draw, I would definitely be more hesitant to just play your creatures.
Yeah. So your approach changes from
Exactly.
the play on the draw in the first turns of the game.
Usually, the game goes that way, which normally doesn't happen in this kind of decks, but usually it goes like that: mountain go, okay, mountain go, draw, mountain go, and that's pretty funny. But yeah, usually the games go like that. That's pretty funny.
Okay, but when you have like this stall situation, maybe you and your opponent, you both have one Dragon's Claw, and you're both starting to actually build your board presence, because that's a battle of resources in the end. This is what it is.
Exactly.
It's
Yes.
not anymore going straight to the face. It's trying to be the one who has most, the highest number of resources on the battlefield in the end. What do you actually do? You take it slowly, but you're waiting for the upgrade to destroy the Dragon's Claw first, and then build the game from there. What's your mindset in that situation?
That's a possible way. But what happened bringing up the match against the Mirror in Lyon? It was kind of exactly this kind of situation where we both had a Dragon's Claw. He was at 68 life, I believe, and I was at 48 life, somewhere around that. And we were both just staring at each other. He was having he had a Shrine of Burning Rage on 18, I believe. And my board was kind of better because I also had a few Lava Darts in my graveyard. So I was kind of the one who was navigating the game. And also because I won game 1, I was kind of in a safe position. I was just going... My plan was just to defend myself, to build up a board and be as defensive as possible. But when you're behind, your mindset is not to destroy the Dragon's Claw as soon as possible, but just to build yourself this board and to get a stacked hand of spells, enough mana to maybe braid the Dragon's Claw, and to have enough spells to just decrease your opponent's life total to half of it, or to save your creatures when your opponent is trying to block your creatures and then do some shenanigans with their spells. So that's kind of the mindset approach in these kind of situations. It's very tricky.
Yeah, it is.
And that's also the reason why I love these kind of matchups.
Because of the little details and all many things you have to, like how many Lava Darts are in each other's graveyard, and
So yeah, what's gonna happen is both players are like every few minutes, can I see a graveyard? How many Lava Darts you have?
Sure. You have to be aware. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. And yeah, game 1 went pretty fast. I was able to kill his creatures and then deploy my mines, and then I was able to overwhelm him with my Revelers as well. And game 2, I think, took at least 30 minutes, and we even almost went to extra turns. It was a pretty fun match, for sure.
All right. Anything else you would like to add about the strategy in the Mirror?
So I guess everything was said already. I guess you have to be aware of the Lava Darts, of the amount of mana which is open on your opponent's side, and just in that general, maybe also how many spells he has in his graveyard, to maybe foresee a Reveler. And also a few lists that it can face are lists with metagenic growths, which is just gross, because then you have to kind of do different approach, because out of a sudden you have to kind of count in sacrificing 2 spells at least to kill a creature. But it's a rare case scenario. So
I mean, you have to do the math on a different manner. You have to
Exactly,
take
yes.
into account that this creature could be even bigger than
Even bigger.
it usually would be. Yeah.
especially when your opponent is playing Kiln Fiends and Mutagenic Growths. It happened to me once, and that was kind of really tough because Kiln Fiend is very easily to interact with. You just shoot it down with a Burst Lightning or Lava Dart, but with Mutagenic Growth, becomes very disgusting.
Sure. Yeah. Even more of a threat than it usually is. Yeah.
But as I said, it's a very rare case scenario, and I wouldn't count on that. But if it happens, you have to rethink your strategy, the math.
Are there any other sideboard cards that you could actually face? I mean, because the lists are, very, very similar in the core, but there are several variants. Because you play the Kiln Fiend variant, but there are actually players who play like different variants with different like flexi slots, and they might also have different choices in the sideboard. So I don't know, making just an example right now, some people could actually decide to play Tomos Crypt and shrink your graveyard so you can play your Reveler, for instance. What about other cards that you could expect, let's say?
So what I saw recently popping up in I think MTGO challenge. Actually, competitive league lists, 5.0 lists, is a sideboard leyline of Combustion, I think. I think that's a pretty neat card, actually.
Okay.
So this guy was playing, I think, 4 copies of a full playset in the sideboard. He actually made 5.0 twice. I think he was the same guy, I'm not sure. And it's a pretty neat sideboard card against like control and jump, because every time they try to kill the creatures, they take 2 damage. That's pretty awesome. And I think it would also get sided in against the mirror match. But I'm not sure how strong it is actually, and how crucial it can be. I mean, yeah, okay, we take 2 damage. Thinking about that, if we have to spend 2 or 3 spells to kill a creature,
that can be a problem.
Can get quite tough.
Yeah, Leyline of Combustion plus Mutagenic Growth could be pretty bad.
That could be pretty bad, but that hasn't happened to me yet. But I think that's actually something to consider when you face a list with Leyline of Combustion. Then you have to kind of do some different maths again.
But your approach would be you do what you usually do, and then if in game 2 you see the Leyline of Combustion, then you reconsider accordingly.
And also, this guy was playing 4 copies of Bone Crusher Giant, which is also a neat card. I was facing against that card once, also in Lyon, when I was playing against some sort of prowess. It wasn't entirely prowess, it was some sort of one of these mono-red aggro decks, which were health burn decks, a mix of burn and prowess. Also, just mono-red. He was playing all the prowess creatures, the Revelers, Skewer the Critics, Seal of Fire. Oh, Seal of Fire was just amazing against me because he could just use it anytime he wanted. And it was just there on the battlefield, mocking my creatures. It was tough to play around it. And he played the Bone Crusher Giant, and it's also a tough card because when your opponent has that 4/3 body, you can kill it with a lightning bolt. But still, you take 2 damage as well, like with the Leyline of Combustion. So that's actually something that maybe you first don't really don't notice. 2 damage, that's okay. But in the long run, it can get quite
Those damage,
nasty.
2 damage every time, and then they pile up in the end of the long term.
Yeah. Then your opponent just finds a spot where they can just unload their hand and then kill you out of nowhere with bird spells. That can happen as well. So you're going to be aware of that as well.
Have you considered playing these cards yourself as well?
Bone Crusher Giant as well, definitely, for sure. But I haven't found the time to try it out yet. But I really like the card. I have a full playset at home, and I'd love to try it out at some point. Maybe I will in the near future. But Leyline was pretty interesting. And I think if those interactive matchups become very dominant in the meta, I think it's worth a try. Worth out a try.
Yeah.
For sure. But other than that, not yet.
Okay, let's have a look at your cyber plan now. We actually covered everything, all the angles. Oh, yes. So what do you side out and what do you side in the mirror?
So what I side out are 4 copies of Lava Spike and 2 copies of Kiln Fiend. As for all matchups, I want to be as interactive as possible. Lava Spikes is exactly the opposite. So Lava Spike is always the easy cut in those kind of matchups against the Voter Druid, against humans, against the Mirror Match. And so that's an easy cut. And the 2 copies of Kiln Fiend, because pretty much they die to pretty much everything the deck has to offer. And it's also an easy cut against the matchups where your opponent can very easily interact with you as well, like Junt, for example, Grixis Shadow maybe. So
and the mirror as well. So yeah.
And the mirror as well. Yes.
Too fragile. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what comes in?
So what comes in are 3 copies of Dragonslaw for obvious reasons, and 2 copies of Abrade, and 1 single copy of Dismember. So Dragonslaw pretty much fulfills the same job against Burn, even though against Burn it's a much stronger card because you just it helps to stabilize the board, and then you kind of slowly build up your board and then overwhelm your opponent with your creatures. But against the Mirror Match, both players are trying to do the same.
Yeah.
So it can happen that both players have the Dragonslaw out, and then both players are just staring at each other with the creatures on the board, and it kind of get tough at these moments. But I mean, in the end, Dragonslaw is still a very good card against mono-red decks, and it still fulfills the same job pretty much. And 2 copies of Abrade, because we want to get interactive, and Abrade deals with the Dragonslaws. And 1 copy of Dismember, because we have 1 less way to interact with the deck in form of 2 instead of 3 copies of Abrade, as I used to have. And Dismember is just also kind of a safety valve in this kind of matchup, even though it hurts to pay 4 life to kill the creature. That's why I'm so shy and hesitant to play both of them against this matchup. But I think 1 Dismember is totally fine, especially against maybe a large Reveler, a large Sorrow Scar Mage, or even what I also faced against is Hazoret, also in Lyon. Everything happened in Lyon.
Everything happened there, yeah.
So yeah, Dismember was pretty good against Hazoret because you don't really destroy it with the destroy effect. So you just, give it -5/-5, and then it dies. That was pretty useful. But yeah, so one Dismember is, I think, totally fine in this matchup.
Have you considered including shenanigans in your sideboard plan? Because destroying your opponent's Dragon's Claw is also very important.
Yes, but it's not the key in this matchup, because both players are trying to do the same, and the deck can deal so much damage that in the end, the Dragon's Claw can just, in the end, doesn't matter, because when you have your board, your opponent has 68 life, which happened to me, and then I started to attack my opponent with 28 damage in 1 turn. His board was cleared off, and the Dragon's Claw was pretty much useless at that point.
Okay.
So I think Shenanigans wouldn't be a good card against the deck, even though you can deal with the Dragon's Claws. But other than that, it deals with nothing else. And the Dragon's Claw, as I said, is not like the key in this matchup, even though it helps stabilize and gain you some more time to build up your board. But yeah, that's pretty much the reason.
Okay. Too specific and not good enough for the mirror match. Alex, it was a very nice conversation as usual. Thank you very much for joining me once again.
Manuel, thanks so much for having me again on the show.
Absolutely a pleasure. And of course, a big thank you to all of you for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and share this video, Twitter, Facebook, any other platform of your choice. It would be extremely appreciated, and it would also help us to keep on doing what we do. All right, everybody, have a great time casting your favorite spells, and for now, it's goodbye.